Hey, what up, though? It's your brother, Speak Rock. Hey, been a long time, but hey, I got something on my mind that I just want to share with everybody. If you look at the title of this talk that I'm going to give, it says, Cam Newton being disrespected is not, the child's fault, but it's the fault of the adults that are in the child's life. And what do I mean by that? First off, let me recap it like this. Caught a news clip of Cam Newton. For those of you who don't know who Cam Newton is, Cam Newton is a pretty much probably a Hall of Fame football player. He played for the Carolina Panthers this year. He played for New England, and from my understanding, first of all, let's keep talking about Cam Newton. Cam Newton could have been a Super Bowl champion, took his team all the way to the Super Bowl. Basically, Cam Newton won a Heisman Trophy, won a collegiate championship. Bottom line is, black man, well accomplished pro football player. Okay, Cam Newton has a camp, and what he does in his camp, it's a 7-on-7 camp. And if anybody knows anything about football and team football, what it is 7-on-7, and they really work with high school players, college players, in reference to them developing their skills. Now, Cam Newton puts up his money, he puts up his time to host a program, for young people, desiring to go on to, college and even the pros. Cam Newton, now I didn't catch all of this, so let me just preface my comments. I didn't catch all of it, but the part I did catch, let me tell you, it really brought home some thoughts and some ideas that I've constantly been trying to share with us, especially as the black community, about how we need to do better. And in this situation, you had a older man taking his time out with a young man, and the young man basically start giving Cam Newton some lip. Now, mind you, Cam Newton's a pro football player. He's done this. Where this young man's trying to go, Cam Newton's already been there. So the young man, how the conversation started, I do not know. But from what I gather, from the articles that I've read, and from some of the pundits that I've listened to in the sports world, they start off by saying, it's not that Cam Newton did anything to the young man. It's not as if Cam Newton was disrespecting the young man. Obviously, there was some conversation, and the young man lashes out at Cam in some type of way, be it a joking way, or be it in a manner in which the kid probably had some intent of malice. Now, the young man is calling Cam Newton, we're going to say trash, but that's not the word the young man used. The word starts with an A, so go and figure it out. ASS, right? Calling Cam Newton, basically saying, look, Cam, you sorry. And pretty much telling Cam Newton, I quote, basically saying like, hey, look, you're a free agent. Basically telling Cam Newton like, hey, look, don't nobody want you. You're a free agent. Hey, you pretty much trash, you garbage. And this is what this young man is saying to another adult grown man. Now, Cam Newton, before he called himself, he stated to the young man, hey, guess what? I'm rich. You know what? Yeah, whatever you saying, whatever you want to say, young man, but I'm rich. Then I guess when it dawned on Cam Newton, like, hey, look, this is a young kid. And from my understanding, the young kid is like 15 years old. So Cam Newton says to the young kid, like, hey, look, guess what? You know what? Where's your dad? Where is your father? But it didn't stop right there. The young man didn't stop and, say, hey, look, well, my father's over here. The young man keeps going in, saying like, all right, look, you trash, man. You look, you just garbage. And I'm like, whoa. So I'm listening to this, and I'm like, where is this going? Why is this young man? But here's the problem. So, reading the articles that I read and looking at a video or two in reference to this situation with Cam Newton, you have some, journalists, sports journalists, celebrated Cam Newton by the way that he handled the matter. Then you got some journalists sitting there bashing the kid. Now let me be clear, I'm not here to bash kid. And as you can see in my title, I clearly stated the child is not at fault. He's not at fault. Who am I blaming for this child speaking to an adult black man in a manner that he was? I blame the adults that are in the child life. And you might say, oh, come on, Rock, where are we going with this? Because I've experienced this on a number of occasions myself. And this issue is deeper than just that one isolated situation. Because that's how we can look at it. We can look at it and say, this is an isolated situation. This is just a young boy who used bad judgment, didn't use wisdom, and he let his mouth get the best of him, and he lashed out at an adult, at a black man. Here's the problem with that. The problem with that is that this young man learned this type of behavior from somewhere. This young man forgot everything about respect and pretty much was like, hey, look, I'm not worried about respect. I'm worried about my machismo right now. I'm worried about my, my machoism. I'm worried about my status in reference to me, being a football player. And, I don't care who it is right now while I'm having this conversation. I'm going to give them this work because this is the kind of young man I am. Because if anybody's played sports, we understand trash talk. Anybody who's played sports, we understand what it is to be the alpha and to prove that you're the best. Especially in the black community, that's kind of, sometimes it seems as if they go hand in hand. But a lot of times that's amongst player, peer amongst peer. Not usually is that, from child to coach, child to adult. Not usually that's not the case. But in this case, I'm finding it to be more prevalent that you see young people mouthing off to adults. And I believe the reason for that is because in society right now, the respect for the black man is dwindling. The respect for the black man is just being thrown out the window. And I'm seeing too many concessions being made for children to display a type of behavior that is highly on the disrespectful side. And I believe why children feel they can get away with this and they can do this and they can participate in this type of behavior is because there are adults that are continually making concessions and making excuses for young people. I mean, I've heard them all. Well, we don't know the household that this young person has come up in. We don't know how it's rough. It's rough out here in the street these days. These kids don't have anything. They don't have a community center. I've heard every excuse up under the sun. And as far as I'm concerned, none of those excuses are valid. None of them. I mean, maybe I'm the wrong person to talk to, but I'll tell you, hey, look, cry me a river. Cry me a river. Whatever it is, look, nothing's new under the sun. Whatever these young people feel as if they're experiencing, I experienced that or worse. And people I grew up with, we experienced that or worse. So no one's an angel. Let me make that clear. All of us have done stupid things and have put our foot in our mouth in one place or another. But there was a time in which when I was coming up, you knew and you understood where the line was. You understood when to speak to an adult and how you need to speak to an adult, especially if you didn't know that adult very well. And you want to talk about it, and if you're coming up on the street, we always want to talk about how a certain demographic of kid, like they're from the street. Well, real talk, honestly, these same children these children that are privileged to be athletic, privileged to have some kind of talent, and if they were on the street, I'm pretty sure they'll be mindful of who they would disrespect, or they wouldn't be on the street for very long. I know that for a fact. So I don't understand where the excuses come in at to allow a child to disrespect. Now, Cam Newton, he could probably be anywhere else with his time, donating his time, his money, and his resources to any other situation. But he desired to be there for his 7-on-7 team. His 7-on-7 camp, helping children to develop their passion, develop their skill, to promote positivity and go on and accomplish some goals that these children are probably only dreaming of. I'm pretty sure Cam Newton didn't wake up that morning and say, hey, look, this camp that I've supplied, that I funded, that I provide, I'm going to be disrespected by one of the young people that I help support. And I find it to be strange, and I find it to be highly disturbing, because I'm pretty sure that young kid didn't by himself come up with the idea of saying, you know what, I'm just going to be disrespectful to Cam Newton. I'm going to bite the hand that feeds me, really. I'm pretty sure that young man learned that behavior from somewhere. And let's talk about where he could have learned it from. First thing we could say, and I think it would be low-hanging fruit, first thing we can say to parents, hey, it starts at home. Maybe it's the lack of parenting, I don't know. But in either event, that's one source where it could have happened. Second thing is his peers. I'll tell you this, if you haven't worked with young people or been around them in this new generation, I'm going to go from young adults, millennials, down to Gen Zs, and I think you got a Gen Y in there. These young adults, with the advent of social media, being able to express themselves in any way that they see fit, as long as their electronic device can capture them, they'll say whatever. They're accustomed to it. I mean, I see and I hear conversations of young people. Sometimes there's some of the most frivolous, juvenile, shallow pieces of conversation you won't ever want to hear. But that's their world. And that's a world in which they can express themselves. And, it's one of the things that you're in violation if you try to share and enlighten them on, like, hey, look, that conversation can be had in a better manner. That's their free space. So what happens is that type of conversation, that ability to be able to speak your mind however you see fit, it bleeds over into reality. And so you believe that you can, those young people believe that they can share that same voice, that same vigor with an adult. And here's the issue. Is one thing, okay, so part of the issue, you say, well, that shouldn't happen. But what really sparks and what really energizes that young person to be able to just to continue to lash out and to speak to an adult in any way that they see fit, there's another adult who is co-signing that behavior. Why? That, I have a reason why, and I'm going to state it. I was going to say it's far beyond me to understand why an adult would co-sign that behavior, but I'm going to give you some reasons why adults co-sign that behavior. And this is why I don't blame the child, and this is why I blame the adult. The adults, for whatever reason, desire to be the hero. They will forego common sense, and they will turn their own back on their own peer, the other adults, and they will try to side with the child, They will side with the young adult to be the hero to the rescue. Not telling the young adult that they're wrong, not telling the young adult like you're out of pocket, you're out of line, this is unacceptable behavior. They would just side with the young adult for whatever reason. I don't know if they're trying to live vicariously through young people, trying to live out their little hoop dreams, their little cheerleader dreams, but they will side with the young person versus siding with the adult who is right in the situation. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's a lack of attention that the adult receives. So they feel like, hey, look, if I butter up to this kid, if I get this child to look up to me, if I come in with my cape and start rescuing this kid from themselves, guess what? Now I've earned something with this child. And to me, I'm still trying to, I don't know if it's an attention thing. I don't know if it's because of it's a lack of attention that they receive at home. I don't know if there's some kind of hero worship thing going on here. But from listening to the whole story with Cam Newton, I heard nothing about at that time when the situation was going down that some other adult jumped in and say, whoa, hold up now. It's Cam Newton that you're speaking to. This is the person that funds this whole organization. This is the person who funds this whole 7-on-7 football camp that we have going on here. This is a pro football. And if nothing else, guess what? It's a grown man. Like, watch your mouth. Slow down, youngin. Hold what you got. Didn't hear none of that. It had to be until the next day, until the sports journalist got a hold of it to dissect it and say, what's the problem? What's the problem with this generation? And I'm going to tell you, they were just holding their head. The sports journalist was just baffled. Like, I don't understand. Like, this is beyond us. And I'll tell you like this. And, these sports journalists, they probably around about my age. Definitely older grown men. And we're sitting there trying not to be the old guy on the lawn, right? Trying not to be, the old man in a rocking chair like, back in my day. Trying not to be that guy. But, hey, call it what it is. Call a spade a spade. When we came up in our generation, we wasn't having it. And if that did happen, guess what? There was consequences that was to be paid. You couldn't mouth off at an adult like that in our generation and not face consequences. Matter of fact, some adults, you knew off rip. You wasn't even trying to cross that line about, flipping off at the mouth, saying something, especially to somebody of a status of a Cam Newton, who is providing time, money, resource, the whole nine, to provide us an opportunity that where else are you going to get this opportunity if Cam Newton didn't come in for it? Let me say it like this also. One of the problems is because these children of the day are coddled by an adult that's playing this hero worship game, what happens is it builds up a mentality into these young kids that these young kids will wait you out. So what I mean by wait you out is they will wait out. They will totally disregard the adult that is trying to correct them, keep them on the straight and narrow, give them advice and wisdom. But if that young person doesn't see that, that's not reaching me, I don't like it, they'll wait you out for another adult who's going to come along that wants to be worshipped as some kind of hero. This is a lot of reason why I don't participate in many, or actually any, mentoring programs. I just think a lot of mentoring programs really miss the mark. And I'm going to tell you why. A lot of mentoring programs really, the only people that they really want to mentor is really the truly, how can I say, the not dangerous, failing child. let's just call it what it is. The child that's failing in some type of way, be it home structure, school, whatever the case may be, want to provide an environment for that kid. So want to mentor and rescue that kid. Or they want to mentor the kid that is doing well in school, doing well at sports, the kid that's doing relatively well already. Might be from a single parent household, might not be, might be a 2-parent household. I don't, hey. So either way, both of those are easy. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. I'm just being honest. Those are 2 easy things. But the middle of the road kid, or the kid that's really about that life, that's in them streets, that's a killer, when no one's mentoring, there's no mentor program for them. Then there's no mentor program for the middle of the road kid. The middle of the road kid is the kid that needs help, but they can manage. They may be from a single parent household, or they may be from a 2-parent household, but they can manage. They're average. Get average grades, average at sports. They don't get no trouble. Middle of the road kids. The only way they're going to receive some help is if they constantly go towards the program or go to where the mentor program is. But they are never priority in any mentor situation. And because of that, that's a turn off for me in reference to just most mentoring programs. They're not set up right. They're not set up to go get everybody. Everybody across the board needs the same treatment, the same provision, the same resources, so they all can thrive. But it's not set up like that. The other reason why I don't want to be a part of most mentor programs is because of what I said. You have these certain mentors and these adults that's into this hero worship, and what they do for the child that really needs some construction or that needs structure and really needs to be groomed, they're not going to do it. Why? What? The child's talented in some sport? Why? Because they're afraid that they're going to tell the child the truth and the child's probably going to go off somewhere else. So what'll happen is they'll do the good cop, bad cop thing and make it seem like the adult that's giving them what they need is wrong. And then the other adult will play the good cop, placate this kid basically to death, and nothing gets accomplished. I'm just so really, here's the thing. I always hear, kids are smart. I hear that all the time. And I tell you, yeah, kids are smart. Because they will play adults. They'll see who they can get, who they can get away with things with. They'll say, okay, I can get away with things with him or her. But with him or her, I can't get away with things. And that's what happens. And unfortunately, we have adults that are not wise enough or smart enough. And quite frankly, I'm just going to say it. Some of these adults are emotionally broken. And this is probably my number 3 reason why it's just kind of just difficult for me to be part of any mentoring program. Most adults are broken themselves. They got some unresolved issues that they haven't fixed. They got people that they hate in their life. They're the main people who tells them they walk around keeping their circle small. How you gonna keep your circle small and you gonna help kids? You trying to help all the kids that you can help, but you got a small circle. Makes no sense to me. It literally makes no sense. How is it that you got beef with people and you trying to help kids? Kids are smart enough to understand that. Kids are wise enough to understand that. They see what you go through. They see how you act. And while I'm speaking on that, let's touch on this. So if it's not parents, and if it's not these poor mentoring programs, guess what? It's also what they see in society from other adults. So understand, this young man, 15 years old, he is involved in athletics. He's involved in sports. A camp that's being provided to him by Cam Newton with his time, money, and resources. And I'm pretty sure these young people, that young man, they look at all the sports networks. And they see on the sports networks, and I'll go even a step further. When you tune into some of your media outlets, in reference to the hip-hop community and hip-hop culture, when you see these media personalities and these sports personalities, sports journalists, when they, with total disregard to the respect level that is given to individuals in pop culture in reference to sports, in reference to entertainment, the total lack of respect that's shown to these people by these pundits, these journalists, total lack of respect. Like, one of the most popular morning shows going right now, and you all know who it is. One of the he's not a journalist. He's basically a glorified, I don't know, just a glorified shock jock. He gets his rocks off on criticizing and trying to demean entertainers. But the funny thing is, he knows who to do it with, and he knows who to do it, who not to do it to. And if a child sees this, guess what? This child is being groomed about, hey, guess what? I can get away with this myself. Oh yeah, it gets deeper. So it's not just the parents' fault. We can't blame it on just his peers and who he goes to school with. Guess what? It's also society too. Because if society isn't showing any reverence and respect to the black man, what makes you think this 15-year-old kid who thinks the world is old to him, and that's pretty much what it was. This kid at 15 years old is an athlete, thinks the world is old to him, thinks that anybody who disagrees with anything that he says, that they're wrong. He figured he'd take the liberty and say whatever he wanted to say out his mouth. And I'm here to tell you, I don't blame him. That 15-year-old kid is doing nothing more than what other adults for his 15 years on this planet have been allowing him to do. And the other adults have been setting an example for him to follow, to do what he did to disrespect Cam Newton. Now look, I'm not blaming it on the water. I'm not blaming it on 5G. I'm not blaming it on TikTok and Instagram. I'm not blaming it on none of those things. None of those things are at fault for why children today will be so disrespectful to those who are really trying to help them. It's the fault of the adults. It's our fault. It's our fault for babying these kids because we act as if the mean old ghetto gonna eat them up. It's our fault. It's our fault. We act as if these children aren't resilient. We pick and choose when we want to say that they're resilient. We pick and choose when we want to say that they're tough. We pick and choose. We pick and choose. So when they walk around with a chip on their shoulder and they act like they don't want to talk to nobody, oh, these kids are tough. They're resilient. But when an adult tries to correct them on their behavior, all of a sudden they're not tough no more. All of a sudden they're fragile. All of a sudden they're very sensitive. All of a sudden you gotta watch what you say to them. Which one is it gonna be? Are they tough or are they weak? Which one is it? I believe that most adults, we make the choice for them based on how we want to be appreciated, how we want to be accepted, how we want to be loved. And guess what? By placating that kid, by making concessions for that kid, what we do, we turn that same disrespectful child back out to society. And what happens is you get somebody with Cam Newton that's of a good nature that has to get disrespected because you, as an adult, will not correct that child and put that child in a child's place and tell them to stay there. And don't you come out of it until I tell you to leave or until you can take care of yourself. I think I'm done because other than that, what's the solution? Well, I would say the solution is, guess what? Adults need to step it up. Adults need to step it up and start delivering some respect. Because truth be told, because if everywhere we turn around, a black man is being disrespected. He's being disrespected by law enforcement. He's being disrespected by the government. He's being disrespected 9 times out of 10 possibly in his own household by his own wife. Let's call it what it is. And for a kid to see this, what do you think a kid gonna do? What's interesting to me is that that young man didn't think long enough to say, man, that's a black man. I'm a young black man. And guess what? That could be me. It's amazing that how we don't try to exercise the golden rule. And the golden rule is not who makes the goal makes the rules. That is not the golden rule. The golden rule is simply this. Treat people the way you would want to be treated. If that young man would have thought about that before he would have lashed out, before he would have had his smart aleck comments, I guarantee you that he wouldn't have had to go back and write an apology. Just real talk. So if this is what young people are being allowed to do and they're being groomed into this, you're going to be hard pressed to start seeing other entertainers, other people of influence that are financially well off trying to give their best and give their all. Because what's going to happen is young people like that are going to be kicked to the curb and they're not going to be invited to these programs to be assisted. I'm telling you now, the only people that's going to be invited to these programs, you're going to start seeing more and more programs like this. And I don't agree with it, but I'm telling you now, you heard it from me. You're just only going to see programs that's just going to take the cream of the crop. The respectful, the children that work hard, the children that is not getting in trouble. Those are the ones that are going to get help. And guess what the community is going to be left with? The community is going to be left with the knucklehead, the disrespectful knucklehead that will probably end your life based on what you say to them. That's what the community is going to be dealt with. And you're going to see all these other these mentoring programs. They're going to be taking the best of us because they don't have the time nor the energy to be dealing with the knucklehead. I said it. Hey, look, it's your brother Speak Rock. We got to do better. We have to do better by these children. We have to do better as adults. All right, hey, look, I'm just a brother from Detroit. What do I know? Hey, it's your brother Speak Rock. I'm out. Salute.